What is the problem of returns in e-commerce selling? Hi guys, my name is Himanshu Mansur and you're watching my channel. If you are following me from the past 2 to 3 months, then you know that a few months back I made a video about selling on e-commerce websites. In that I had discussed that this YouTube channel is something which I do as a hobby. Apart from that, I am a registered seller on Amazon, Snapdeal, Flipkart and Paytm. Now this is not a video for criticizing all these e-commerce companies, but this is just to point out a few mistakes that these companies are doing when it comes to dealing with returns and dealing with fraudulent customers. Unfortunately, in India, many people have this mentality that they can order products and then they can, say for example, they can order 10 products, select 2 of them and then return 8 products back. But what these buyers do not know is that those 8 products, when they are coming from the seller to their homes and then going back from their homes to the seller has to pay the logistics for all those things. One thing I want to ask to all the buyers is simply, when you are shopping from a retail store, when you are going to a shopping mall or to a shopping place, does the shopkeeper from where you are purchasing the products, does he pays you for the conveyance or for the transportation the cost of transportation which you have incurred from your home to coming to that place? No, he will not be paying that. But unfortunately in e-commerce selling, that is the case. The biggest problem with Flipkart, Amazon, Paytm and this Snapdeal is they are charging logistics from the seller itself, and they are not at all charging any compulsory logistic charges from the buyer. And the result is that these buyers are enjoying everything for free, and some buyers are even tampering products. Some buyers are even, what they're doing, suppose they're like it happened with me a few days back, that there was this customer who ordered a product worth rupees 3000. She kept the product and then applied for return. The next day when the logistic guy came, she gave her a product which was worth like 100 rupees or 200 rupees. And now I have to run from pillar to post asking these e-commerce companies that where is my product and what about the compensation and everything. And that is a loss that sellers have to face. Apart from the logistics which I had to pay from my office to the buyer, and then again from the buyer to my office. So one of the biggest problems in selling on these websites is the logistic charges, especially on returns. Logistic charges, I think, should be compulsory on all buyers. You know, this also used to happen with Ola, which is a very famous company, an app-based cab service here in India. Many customers, what they were doing, they were booking Ola cabs and then they were cancelling the cabs. Now the cab driver which had got that booking, he has to drive his car around and then just to realize a few minutes later that the booking has been cancelled. So that was resulting in a lot of loss to the drivers when it comes to the fuel cost. And what Ola has done now is that if a customer cancels a cab, the customer will be charged 50 rupees penalty for that cancellation. And now there are many less cases of people who are cancelling Ola cabs. But as far as these e-commerce companies are concerned, they are not at all listening to anyone. Even I have seen many sellers who have made video on YouTube, and they have also said that because there is no compulsory charge on buyers, so buyers are taking advantage of this thing. They are changing products, they are tampering with the products, and Flipkart, Amazon and all these companies are not at all taking any measures to curb this problem of fraudulent customers. The mentality behind Flipkart, Amazon, Paytm and Snapdeal is simply that sellers are the only one who can do something wrong. If there is a return by a customer, that means that seller may have sent a wrong product, but that is not the case every time. Yes, there are some sellers who send wrong products, who send fraudulent products, but the thing is, it is not the seller who is always responsible. I do not know why Flipkart, Snapdeal, Amazon and all, they think that all the wrongdoings are because of the seller, and all the costs have to be incurred by the seller itself. When it comes to profits, if there is a profit, they need 30% out of the total cost of your product, because that is a profit. But if there is a loss, then they need the logistic cost from you. Then sometimes they even charge penalties from sellers. Like to give you an example, the rule in Amazon is, suppose if there is a return, you will be charged logistics, but you will also be charged 20% of the commission as penalty. Now, can anyone explain it to me that if a buyer is wrong, if a buyer is doing mischief just to take advantage of the products, then how come the seller is being penalized? How can Amazon people justify this thing? I do not know why these sort of rules are there. And secondly, when it comes to cancelling of orders, if a seller tries to cancel an order, then they say that you will have to pay this 10%, 20% of the commission as penalty because you have cancelled this order. It has happened with me a lot of times that I know that this particular customer from this location is ordering regularly and regularly returning my products, but I cannot do anything in order to cancel the orders. If I know that this customer is bad, this customer is blacklisted in my company, but I as a seller do not have the right to cancel the order. I cannot say that I do not want to deliver this order to this buyer because this buyer has a bad return history. And the thing is, if I cancel the order, these guys will penalize me. If I ask these companies, if I call their customer care, first of all, the customer care is of no use. Secondly, the customer care people will listen to your things and then try to make stories in front of you, but they will not have any what should I say, any satisfactory or convincing reply to your queries. And if I say that this buyer has a high return history and I want to cancel this order, or I want you guys to cancel this order, they will say that buyer is the king in our eyes, and if you want to do a re-verification, we can have a re-verification of the buyer. And what happens in the re-verification? A person from these companies, they simply call the buyer and then they ask that do you want this product? The buyer will obviously say that yes, I want this product. After that, they just give me an email saying that this buyer is interested, this buyer has been verified. And sometimes some people are so dumb that they say that the address is fine, you can send this product. God damn it, I'm not talking about the address, I'm just talking about the character of the buyer. But I do not know why these companies are treating, okay, customer is the king, I can understand this, but there are some customers who are misusing this thing as well. You cannot blame everything on the seller, you cannot put everything on the heads of the seller, on the shoulders of the sellers. If a buyer is doing something wrong, that doesn't mean that seller has sent something wrong to that buyer. I'm not talking about sellers who are doing something wrong. If there is a genuine return, fair enough. I do not have any problem. Even if I am sending something wrong, then the buyer has the right to return the product. But if I am sending something absolutely correct, I am sending the right product, then how come the buyer has this right of tampering with that product and then returning that product? And sometimes this tampering also happens with the logistic people as well. They misplace the product and then you are running from pillar to post, but there is no resolution to your problem. This return problem has forced me to make this video, and more than that, I have also seen many sellers now coming on YouTube and sharing videos, coming on Twitter, coming on Facebook and sharing their experiences, because everyone is fed up with this. I can guarantee you that if there is a compulsory charge on every buyer for ordering a product, whether they want to keep that product or whether they want to return that product, it will just take one day to finish off all the return problems which we have. But I do not know why Amazon, Flipkart, Paytm and Snapdeal are not at all listening to this. If you are a person who is working in Amazon, who is working in Snapdeal, who is working in Paytm or working in Flipkart, then please try and pass on this suggestion to the higher authorities of your companies, that sellers are also people. Sellers are not here to take all the losses, and the mentality and the policies which you have are simply that if there is a profit of the seller, we need 30%, but if there is a loss, 100% is to be bared by the seller. That is not a fair playing field. That is not fair policies. And if this continues, I do not know whether sellers will continue selling on these websites. And if you are a buyer, then this is my request to you: please do not return products or order products unnecessarily, because all the cost has to be bared by the seller, and there is no liability on Flipkart, on Amazon, on Paytm, or any other, on Snapdeal, or on any other e-commerce website. All the logistic costs is to be bared by the seller. And another thing I want to point out, when it comes to logistic costs, sometimes I have seen that if the logistic cost is, say for example, rupees 40 from my office to the buyer's place, and if the buyer returns the order, then the logistic charges should be 40 into 2, that is 80 rupees, but they will charge you 110, 120 rupees, 130 rupees. So these companies are also earning profits when it comes to returns. They are not at all concerned whether the seller is earning something or not. They just know that if there is a sale, we have 30%. If there is not a sale, then also if there is a return, all the return cost is to be bared by the seller. And in that return cost that we are charging from the seller, again we are earning a profit. I'm sorry, this sort of a business model cannot continue for long, and I do not think that if this continues, we know very well that what is happening with Snapdeal right now. Nobody is asking what is Snapdeal and where Snapdeal has gone. Nobody is purchasing anything from Snapdeal. Nobody is selling anything on Snapdeal. Frankly, my account on Snapdeal is not at all, what should I say, not at all operational. Like, my products are active, but I am not at all receiving any orders from Snapdeal. That is what has happened to Snapdeal, and the day is not far that I would see the same thing happening with Amazon, with Flipkart, with Paytm as well. It's not that you are a big businessman and you are a big business company, you are a big business house, that doesn't mean that you will treat all the sellers as slaves. And last but not the least, I want to point out that to all these companies, please stop paying all your customer care executives, because all your customer care executives, or all your, I would say, seller support executives, are of no use. They do not know how to handle, how to talk with the how to talk with the sellers, and they do not have any knowledge. I do not know whether they do not have any knowledge, or whether you guys are training them to act like dumb people, act like monkeys on phone, and like just to make stories with the sellers. And your seller support teams are not at all helpful when it comes to solving the problems of sellers. Another point which I want to stress upon on this video is the seller protection fund. That is the all these companies have a protection fund, where if there is a product loss, or if there is a loss of the product, if the product has been lost, or the product has been tampered or damaged during transit, or during the logistical process, then these companies will be giving you some compensation. These things are all bullshit. First of all, the compensation which they will give you, you have lost your product 100%, the compensation will be 60%, 70%, that's it. Secondly, they will try and make every excuse in the world to reject your compensation. Whether you click photos, whether you take videos, they're just looking for shortcomings, they're just looking for minute details to reject your claim. They just want a simple excuse to reject your claim. Whether you are giving them any sort of evidences, anything, they just want to reject your claim. And I was talking about the seller support team. If you ask the seller support team to to process the claim, and to share the photos and videos and the evidences that you have with them, the biggest problem with them is, like for example, Amazon has this policy of informing the Amazon team within 7 days of receiving the product, if there is a damage, or if there is a wrong product which has been received. The problem with them is, they will say that okay, we are processing the claim, and then they will take 4 or 5 days to reply you back, and then they will say the claim has been rejected. Then obviously, since you have a genuine claim, you will apply for that claim again. Then what they will do is, they will wait for 2 or 3 days. Again, they will say that your claim cannot be passed. When you will ask the reason, then they will say that you have passed the 7-day limit. Now, who is the person who has wasted 7 days? The Amazon team. But what they will do is, they will delay they will delay the reply in such a way that 7 days are over, and then they will just say one thing, that you have not applied for the claim in the eligible time period, that is 7 days. Similarly for Flipkart has 14 days. Flipkart team also does the same thing. They will delay the matter for 14 days. Once the 14 days are over, then they will say that we are very sorry, you didn't apply for the claim in the eligible period. Anyways guys, that's it for this video. If you have any more things to add, please comment down below. And if you are a seller, if you want to share your experiences, please, you can also comment down. Like this video and share it with other sellers as well, or with people who want to start selling on these websites, because it is very important for new sellers to know that what we sellers who are that what we people who are existing sellers are facing on these websites. I will be linking 2 videos which I had made before, which is related to selling on e-commerce websites, which will be coming on your screens now. Please watch those videos and also give your comments on that as well. Anyways guys, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you and have a nice day.